From Studio 1Z, with the latest news, commentary, and weather, it's the KZRG Morning News Watch on Newstalk, KZRG.
It's FM 102.9, 105.9, AM 1310, and on your smart speaker, it is Newstalk KZRG. Ted Bojorquez and Steve Scott. And joining us this morning is Chris Wright, who's running for governor of the state of Missouri. Chris, how you doing this morning?
I'm doing good. It's nice to finally be doing some radio interviews closer to home instead of way across the state over in St. Louis. It's a nice break when I get to do something that I don't have to drive 5 hours for.
Well, exactly. I'm glad we could help you out in that light there, Chris. So, Chris, for those of us that aren't familiar with you or your campaign or your history, introduce yourself. Give us a little bit about your background, who you are, and why it is you're running for governor of the state of Missouri.
Yeah, so I'm a local guy. I actually grew up down in Longview, Missouri, graduated from McDonald County, moved up into this area. My background's a very normal blue-collar guy type of background. I've got 24 years in the military. You wouldn't be able to tell it because I'm growing a beard now, but I'm retiring next month, and it feels pretty good. I've got 9 years in law enforcement, 17 years as a small business owner. I currently own a small construction company here locally.
Nice. And why are you running for governor of Missouri, Chris Wright? What inspired you?
You know, at first, about 3 years ago, I felt a calling, but I didn't really understand that calling. And after about four months of fighting with the Lord on it, I now understand why, because I used to pay attention to national politics. Is really all I paid attention to. When I started doing my digging and research, I quickly figured out that state politics are just as dirty as national politics. And if we don't elect the right people, we're going to get past a point of no return. And with my background, I just look for truth and accountability. Am I perfect? No, nobody here is perfect, but I just care about the well-being of people. That's just how I'm made.
Nice. It's Chris Wright here at Newstalk KZRG. Chris Wright running for governor of the state of Missouri. Now, Chris, I know that your platform, so to speak, there's a lot of issues that you're going to be focused on, and one of them is the idea of single subject bills, which I found very interesting as being part of your platform. Can you expand on the issue of single subject bills from your perspective a little more?
So the state constitution says that whenever a bill is being made, developed, that it should have one subject. So we can't have, immigration bill and then add bills on gambling. Those are two different subjects. So what we have in our legislature, we have a lot of good legislators who are trying to do a lot of good, but we have a lot of bad legislators who keep adding all this ballot candy onto these bills. And these bills go from 1, 2, 3 pages to 100, 110, 120. And it's just wrong. And we got to get back to doing the single subject bills only.
Yeah. No, it's Chris Wright running for Missouri governor. I'm glad you brought up the Missouri legislature and lawmakers in the state, Chris, because I know this year was kind of a mess in the Missouri legislature, despite Republicans having full control of really all major branches of the state government. Very few major Republican goals were achieved, most notably initiative petition reform. As governor, whether it be initiative petition reform or single subject bills, what would you do to provide leadership to our state legislature?
So I say this all the time, and we are working in a reactive manner instead of a proactive manner. And whenever I look at the discontent in the legislature, and again, it's not everybody. There are a lot of good people trying to do a lot of good things, but I always ask myself, where is the accountability? Where are the people asking why there's so much fighting? Where are the people that are looking and realizing nothing is really getting done and stepping up and trying to take that lead and communicating? There's really just, I feel like there's a severe lack of communication. You got a lot of people that are, it's my way or the highway, and you got to be able to communicate. Whenever I was a police officer, I was a small guy. I couldn't just go around shooting people. I had to learn how to talk with the perpetrator, the bad guy, or whatever the case may be. And you got to learn how to communicate with people, or you're never going to get anything done.
Mm-hmm. It's Chris Wright running for governor of Missouri here at Newstalk KZRG. Chris, another big issue that we're seeing statewide and nationwide at this point is when it comes to the issue of election security. Many Americans are worried about election security and in some cases downright distrustful of it. If elected governor of Missouri, what would you do to help build back Missourians' trust in our elections?
I really think it starts with, the Secretary of State and just showing my support with, I'm a big paper ballot guy. We're in a day and age where if we're using electronics, computers, whatever, I just truly feel like anything can get hacked into, and the Democrats will stop at nothing to cheat and win these elections. And I used to be one of those, like, I felt like the election in 2020 was stolen, but I got to see hard evidence to convince me of something. And I watched a program with a guy named Dr. Franks, and he laid it out with the voter rolls and the way the voting was going. I 100% feel it was stolen, and just showing my support. And if any bills come across my desk as governor that is going to help reinforce the security of elections, I'm 100% on board with it.
And where do you stand on the issue of voter ID laws, Chris Wright?
If you're in America, you better be a citizen to vote. And we have laws, but I don't feel like they get enforced. I know there's been some issues with the Department of Revenue, or License Bureau. I'm sorry. Whenever you go get your license, they're not checking whether or not you truly are a citizen. They're just giving you that access to vote. And again, it boils down to enforcement of our laws.
Mm-hmm. It's Chris Wright here on Newstalk KZRG. He's running for governor of the state of Missouri. Chris, we have a listener question that came in through our text line. If you have questions, by the way, feel free to text us at 417-782-1310. Chris Wright running for governor of Missouri. Is there anything that the current gubernatorial administration of Missouri has done that motivates you to be governor? Something that maybe you disagree with, or something they're currently doing that you would like to see continue on?
As far, and I don't want to come on here and feel like I'm bashing anybody, but I'm a go-get-em, very proactive guy, and I just don't feel like our current governor has been very proactive. Whenever you're being reactive, you gotta pay the piper, and that's not a place I want to be. So that motivates me to go out there and show that a regular guy who's not tied to the political apparatus, who owes zero favors to anybody, can show that there are those of us who belong in this job because we truly care about the people and not about the money.
Yeah, Chris Wright, he's running for governor of Missouri. He's here in the studios at Newstalk KZRG. Chris, we're running up against the clock here, but I do have another question for you, and that is your view on Missouri's role on the national stage. Now, currently, what is your view on Missouri's responsibility on the national stage currently, and where would you like to see Missouri's standing nationally in 4 years from now? I
feel like Missouri's probably about the middle of the roll. As far as on a national stage, anytime we have a chance to lead, I want to be leading in positive things, not negative things. But as far as the national role, very easily we could be doing more. I don't feel like we're doing enough to help secure the southern border. For example, we've got a military with 8,500 National Guards men and women in Missouri. And we've put a real big emphasis on the infantry. We've only sent a couple of hundred National Guard soldiers down to the border. That border is gaping, and it's more than just illegal immigrants. It's terrorists, it's drugs, it's human trafficking. I would do a lot more in sending more soldiers down there, because once they get here to Missouri, it's going to be very, very difficult to find them. And usually you only find them after they've broken a law. And these laws aren't just these crimes aren't just petty crimes that they're committing. I'll keep it PG, but the listeners know where I'm going with that.
Right. It's Chris Wright running for governor of Missouri here on Newstalk KZRG. Now, Chris, we're up against the clock here, but finally, while we got you here, what is one final elevator pitch you can give for those listening on why they should vote for you for governor of the state of Missouri?
Well, it comes down to, I'm not a politician, but I'm a very successful businessman, and I've had a very stellar 24-year military career. I owe zero favors to anybody. Go look at my Missouri Ethics Commission report. I'm not a part of the political apparatus, and at the end of the day, I just want truth and accountability.
It's Chris Wright running for governor of the state of Missouri. Chris, thank you for joining us this morning.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
It's Newstalk KZRG.